guys, it's Tori, and today I'm going to be doing the 1001 books tag. This tag was originally created by Miss Reads a Lot, and I was tagged by both a cruel reader's thesis, my goodness, and Emily from Novell Novels. So thank you both for tagging me. I'm excited to do this. Sorry it took me a little while, but let's just get into these questions. So the first one is 1001 lists. Do you follow any book lists? It can be prize lists or a challenge like the Rory Gilmore challenge. I do not really follow lists. I do have some level of interest in things that are regularly shown on like best books of all time or books to read before you die lists. If there's something that is on multiple of those, I might be more inclined to pick it up, but on the whole I don't really care too much. I also do look into a little bit the Women's Prize for Fiction and the Walter Scott Prize, but I don't usually like prioritize those books. I might just look to them for some recommendations. Question 2, 1001 books. Approximately how many physical books do you currently own and how many ebooks? So ebooks I'm not really gonna worry about because I don't really read ebooks. I maybe have 2 or 3 that I have on my Kindle still. I may in the future read more as I get through more Victorian literature, because there is a lot of Victorian literature that is no longer being published, but it still has ebook forms of it. So I will probably use that a little bit more then once I get through a lot of the more popular Victorian reads. But yeah, I don't really read much. When I moved my books into this apartment, actually my roommate counted all of the books I own. Don't ask me why, she just decided she wanted to do that, and I think we were at about 400. So I probably am a little over 400 at this point because I have bought quite a few books since she did that. So maybe I'll say like 430 probably about is where I'm at, and yeah, it probably will continue to grow. Next question is 1001 books read. Approximately how many books have you read in your lifetime? Do you keep track? So I didn't start using Goodreads until partway through my high school years, and even then I was not super on top of it. So I really don't have a solid guess as far as like a solid approximation, but I would guess based on like some general idea of how many books I read a year and stuff like that, I would probably say around 600, maybe 700 at this point in my life. I'm gonna say probably actually closer to 500, between 500 and 600. But again, I really don't have too strong of an idea. I do keep track now via Goodreads and now Storygraph as well. I've started to use that this year, but yeah, I haven't done that my whole life necessarily, so that's my approximation that I'm gonna give. Next is 1001 Arabian Nights. Have you read any stories from the Arabian Nights? Do you have a favorite? If you haven't read it yet, do you want to? I feel like I have read a story or two from it, but it's been so long I don't remember which ones. That being said, I do own a copy of it, so I would love to read it. I have kept it because I want to read it. Who knows when that will happen? Maybe during an Ancients-a-thon one year. Probably not this year because I have other plans, but at some future date I do intend to read that. 1001 flavors. Do you have a favorite food or flavor? I mean, chocolate. I would almost never say no to chocolate, although I'm more of a savory eater than a sweet eater, so there are times when I would prefer to have like a bag of chips. I guess what I'll say as far as like comfort foods, I really like just sandwiches. Like I really like sub sandwiches. I really like more fancy type sandwiches with like really good bread. I really enjoy that a lot. So I'll say that because that's something that's kind of my tendency to go out and get. If I go out to eat, I usually will get some sort of sandwich most places. And then yeah, as far as like a flavor, chocolate, everything is just amazing. I really enjoy that. Next question is 1001 pages. Have you read a book that is over 1001 pages? Is there one that you recommend and is worth the time? What is the longest book you have read? So yes, I've read several books that are over 1,000 pages, 1001 pages. The longest book I read, I am not sure if it's Les Mis or if it is I think Words of Radiance is the longest in the Stormlight Archive, at least of the first 3. I have not read the 4th one, but I think of the first 3, Words of Radiance is the longest, and I can't remember exactly how long it is, but I'm not sure which of those is the longest along with Les Mis. Stormlight Archive is easily worth the time, especially if you enjoy fantasy. Like Brandon Sanderson does an incredible job world building in that. If you're not really into that, I would say Les Mis I have a hard time saying Les Mis is worth the time because it was for me. I'm really glad I read it, and I would definitely reread it with the unabridged version still. But I don't necessarily think everybody would be okay with a lot of the tangents, so maybe an abridged version would work better for some people. But I think one that I would say that's over 1,000 pages, I'm pretty sure, that is worth the time is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. That is such a great, pacey, fun story that I think most people would enjoy if they're willing to take on a book that big. Next question is 1,001 buckets. Do you have a non-bookish bucket list? What is one thing on the list? So bucket lists are funny to me because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, don't make a bucket list, like you don't know when you're gonna die, or some people are weird about bucket lists and other people like love their bucket lists. Me, I'm very in the middle. Like to me, I'm like, isn't everything you just want to do on your bucket list? Because obviously you would like to do it before you die. So I don't really have a specific bucket list necessarily, but I would say one thing I've thought a lot about that I would love to do again, actually, it's something I have done before, traveled to Boston. I've been to Boston before and I loved it so much and I want to go back so bad. So that's one thing that I've like thought a lot about and tried to like figure out when would be best for me to try to save up and be able to get there and hopefully have someone to go with me. So yes, I would say right now travel to Boston. If I'm thinking about something I haven't done before, I do really want to go back to the UK. But specifically something I didn't do last time that I really want to do is to do a literary tour of the UK. So I want to go to like Thomas Hardy's house, I want to go to the Bronte parsonage, those two for sure, and then probably Bath for Jane Austen. I also would really like to, while I'm there, see more of things that, places that were really important in the Wars of the Roses. So definitely like the Battle of Bosworth Fields, and I would like to see where Richard III is buried, was reinterred. So those are a few things I'd really like to do should I ever go back to the UK. But like I said, I don't really have like a specific list that I'm like checking things off. I just have a few things I would like to do, hopefully before I die, but you know, who knows what life's gonna do. 1,001 numbers. Do you have a lucky number? Is there a story behind it? No, I don't. I usually tend to pick the number 7, and maybe that's partially influenced by my love of Harry Potter. Like I grew up with Harry Potter and the number 7 is very important in that. So maybe it just like bled into my psyche. I mean, when I pick the number 7, I don't like think, oh, that's in Harry Potter, that's why I want to pick 7. But for some reason, I'm very drawn to the number 7. So it's not really a lucky number or anything. It's just, I don't know, the one I tend to pick a lot of the time when asked for a number. So there's that. 1,001 authors. Do you have a favorite author and or genre? Okay, we all know my favorite author is Thomas Hardy still. Frankly, I don't know why I love Thomas Hardy so much because he is so bleak. And I know I understand why people don't like him. Like I genuinely do, but something about the tone of his stories just works for me and I just love it. I love the feeling I have when I'm reading it, just the melodrama and so many emotions. I feel like his stories are very passionate. They're so full of emotions and it just draws me without being like overly cheesy or like ridiculous. I feel like you're able to get to know the characters well enough that their deep, intense emotions are understandable, and so I'm able to appreciate it a lot better than I otherwise might have been able to if it had been written by a different author. So yeah, I just love Thomas Hardy, and again, I understand why people don't, but I just do. 1,001 activities. Do you have a favorite outdoor activity? So does reading outside count? I do actually really like just taking walks. I like going for hikes too, but I don't necessarily love super intense hikes, mostly because I like to enjoy nature. I like to really feel like I'm there, and me being not the most in shape person in the world and living in a mountainous climate where the air is very thin, I get very winded and I struggle if a hike is too intense for me, but I do really enjoy walking in nature. And it doesn't even have to be in the mountains. Like if I'm near a beach, I love just walking along the beach. I also really enjoy riding on boats. Like I love being on a boat and just looking at the water. I do like swimming as well, but there's just something about like watching the water water beneath me and like feeling the waves. I don't get, at least I haven't gotten super seasick or anything, but I do sometimes, so there is that. But I still like overall really enjoy that experience. So yeah, I guess I'll go with those two. Okay, this next question I'm just not gonna worry about because I think it's a personal question for the creator of the tag, and I think at this point it's already been answered many a time and has been, yeah, just done. It's all good. So the last one is to tag people. It says 10+1 friends, and it just talks about maybe tag 10+1, but you don't have to. I'm not going to tag anyone for this just because I know it's one that everybody's been doing already, and yeah, if you haven't done it yet, feel free to do it. I do think it has a lot of really fun questions, but yeah, I'm just not gonna worry about it because like I said, it is one that has gone around a lot of channels and I don't remember who has done it and who has not. So anyway, that is it for this tag. Let me know down below your answers to some of these questions. What you thought of my answers, as I would love to know. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.